What's up guys, Nizo here. Today we're going to be checking out Starsound's Gladiator 12-inch subwoofers. These babies are part of Starsound's entry-level lineup. We're going to be unboxing it, and I'd strongly advise you to watch right to the end because I've thrown a bit of a technical piece on it at the end where I talk about the enclosures and so forth. Do check it out. Let us know in the comments what you think. Thanks very much. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Feels like Christmas. I always love opening new presents. Today we unboxing Starsound's Gladiator 12-inch subwoofer. Like most of their products, it's got the specifications on the packaging itself. The front shows you the cone composition, frequency response of the speaker, the impedance, sensitivity, voice coil. It's 2.5 inch. That's quite important. Gives you an idea of how much power you could put through it, more or less. Obviously, if it's a 2-inch coil, it means it needs very little power. 2.5, it takes a bit more. It's kind of an in-between. Once you open the actual woofer, it's got an attractive yellow. I like the yellow stitching on the cone. If you turn it to the side, it's got a pressed steel basket. Nice motor. It's got some good weight to it. It's got nice push terminals. When you turn the speaker around, you'll see that the motor has a center vent that helps with voice coil cooling. Another thing that helps with the voice coil cooling is the vents at the bottom of the basket. And then back to the front, it's got a nice high roll surround, paper cone, yellow stitching. Cone is stitched to the foam surround, over and above being glued, and it's just a very well presented subwoofer. Let's move on to my next favorite part, which is listening. What's up guys? So now we come to my favorite part. We're doing the listening test on the Starsound Gladiator 12s, powered by a Starsound Gladiator monoblock amplifier. And yeah, let's Now that the listening test is done, let me talk about the enclosures and the test environment. We use the City Golf OEM electrical system, single power cable from the front to the rear, distributed into a distribution block, feeding to amplifiers, a 4-channel which powered the mids and tweeters, and the Starsound Gladiator monoblock which powered, well, pretty much all the configurations. As far as subwoofer enclosures go, I did something that I wouldn't normally do. Because these are budget subwoofers, I decided to use budget enclosures. Budget enclosures, flea market spec enclosures or flea market enclosures. Traditionally what people shopping in this price bracket, the kind of enclosures they would use. Not a lot of people are going to spend the money or spend money on enclosure where the enclosure costs more than the subwoofers does. They're shopping in this price range because that's their budget. So I thought it would make perfect sense for me to review it as the end user would use it in the same kind of environment. Yes, I'll get 1,000,000 times better results in a thick solid enclosure, but that's not what most guys would use it or how they would use it. Starting off, the first enclosure we used was a slot loaded enclosure, a slot vent enclosure. So the enclosure was for two 12-inch woofers. It consumed almost the entire boot, much like an SPL enclosure. Big slot ports, we dropped the woofers in, we wired it down to 1 ohm, played it, we ran it in. I played with tuning. I actually spent a full day tuning, and at the end of it all, I was just honestly flat out disappointed. No matter what I did, I just couldn't get them to sound like enjoyable. They were loud, yeah, but they were loud with certain songs. You couldn't play anything through it. If that's your range of music that you normally play on a pounder system, this is how much it played nicely. The rest was just like flappy and all over the place, sounded like the woofers were gonna break, or just the woof, not really break, but the woofers were just very uncomfortable in that enclosure. I took the two 12s out, I dropped the single 12 enclosure in. That was the thin, long enclosure, a slim enclosure. Standard 3-inch port, played it at 2 ohm, and the car suddenly sounded 1,000,000 times better. I actually enjoyed the single 12 in the long enclosure. That was almost my favorite. I noticed on the port there's like a little mesh piece at the back of it. We cut that out to try and reduce the restrictions, and it made a small difference. It sounded a little better. It was enjoyable. I listened to it, and I actually, in between playing with stuff, I actually went back to that enclosure. I listened to the system with that the most. We then took that out. We then took the slim long out. We put a compact enclosure, single 12 again. We dropped that in, and it didn't sound bad at all. It consumed very little space. It sounded nice. It added a nice punch, nice kick. It's not rattle your teeth bass. It just adds a nice touch to it. We did change amplifiers a bit, but I'll talk to you about that in an upcoming review, because what we actually did with that was we did use a 4-channel amplifier to power it, where we powered the front speakers of 2 channels and the subwoofer of the other 2 channels, and that actually sounded really, really great. That to me was like the ideal starter pack audio system. But we'll come back to that when we review the 4-channel amplifier. Believe it or not, there's a compact, really small, compact, thin, dual 12-inch enclosure with 2 small 3-inch ports. This is also flea market special, off the shelf, few $100. Man, did that impress me so much more than the slot loaded enclosure, the slot vented enclosure. We traditionally know that these slot enclosures they're generally a lot louder than your traditional smaller enclosures. But why this sounded so much better in this environment is these are not massive subwoofers. They're entry levels. They're baby woofers. They're really baby woofers. They don't need big enclosures. They don't need bucket loads of power. They just need a bit of a 4-channel, a good small monoblock, and it plays all day, every day. Sounds good. The trick to these woofers is you have to get the enclosure volume right. They don't like big enclosures. They don't need big enclosures. Small enclosures, efficient, small, don't even go past the 4-inch port. You'll be happy for days. Overall, I think these woofers offer great value for money. Like I said, they're very affordable. There are things that could have been built better, but that would push the speaker up to a different price point. And once again, you have to compare apples with apples. This speaker is designed to compete at a certain price point, and I think it does that exceptionally well, or really, really well. Yes, you can get better out of it, building a properly spec'd enclosure, doing everything the whole 9 yards, damping the car, all of that. But let's be honest with ourselves here. Someone just finished high school, they got their first car. They don't always just walk into money and here's 20 grand, 30 grand, let's do a build. This is someone that's going to say, I've got 10 grand, I need a radio, I need speakers, amps, everything, and I need it installed. That's who this is aimed at. Anyway, if that's the market you're in, if that's what you're shopping for, do give these a look. I'm also going to be, I've already started playing with a pair of Spectrum woofers, Starsound's bigger woofers. We're also still going to do the Gladiator 4-channel. There's actually 2 sizes of Gladiator 4-channel amplifiers. We're going to be doing that. I have put them through these woofers. I've put the Spectrum woofers on them. And yeah, we're going to give it a bash and see how it goes. As always, thanks for watching. Please don't forget to share, like, subscribe.